Welcome back to John, your daily sports dump, where we plunge into the sports world. We are a sports pipeline for breaking news, game recaps, and the hottest takes in the sports industry. So while taking care of business, let us fuss out the details and fill in on what's happening. So take a seat, get comfortable, and make sure you have plenty of TP. It's time to explode the commode. I'm your host, John. Today we got a very special guest, a man who's built one of the most respected programs in the Missouri Valley Conference and in the nation. He's led Bradley to multiple basketball MVC championships, NCAA tournament runs, and turned Peoria into one of the toughest places to play in college sports. Known for his fiery leadership, defensive discipline, and relentless culture, he's not just coaching a team, he's building a legacy. Joining John today is Coach Bradley Braves basketball coach Brian Wardle. Coach Wardle, thank you for taking time to hop on the podcast.
No, John, I appreciate the invite, man. I'm excited to be on it, and I got to tell you, you got the best slogan I've ever seen on a T-shirt. And so, who thought of that? Was that you?
I want to say me, but my dad. He'll be watching this.
Well done.
My dad definitely helped with it.
Well done. I was laughing. That was good.
That's really our go-to. Good. My dad and brother specifically, were big potty humor guys. So it's right up our alley.
Oh, yeah. It was funny. It caught my eye and made me laugh. So that's good. That's what you want.
So like I was telling you before we start, I got 2 questions for my mom. I like to let my mom.
Yes. Good.
I told my mom when we interviewed Duke Dean, all the guys, I want to start getting you some questions. So she's got 2 questions for you, and then we'll go with my questions.
I love it. Let's do it.
What does a good team meal look like to you? Whether it's pregame, postgame, or something shared on the road, what role does food play in building the culture of Bradley basketball? And my next question?
That is a good. What's your mom's name?
Kristen.
Kristen, great question. Food, nutrition is huge to our program, and it's gotten more important over all my years as a head coach as the more information we get about how important nutrition is and sleep and so forth. So it's massive. So our team eats well. That's why I do a lot of fundraising as a head coach. That's probably over 50% of my job, because nutrition is important for recovery, for making them feel healthy and strong, get the best performance they can when they go out in Carver Arena on game night. But I would say, I don't know if there's a perfect meal, but what our guys love is we'll have salad. We'll have usually grilled chicken, some pasta, maybe even a steak or some kind of meat, beef with the pasta and chicken, a vegetable. It could be green beans, it could be potatoes, whatever it is. We always have a vegetable or vegetable tray, and then rolls, and that's usually about it, and a lot of it, put it that way. And there'll be a side too. So whether it's something fairly healthy, we try to keep it somewhat healthy when it comes to the side, especially on game days. So new food is important, nutrition is important, and our guys eat a lot. So you would be amazed at how much it costs to feed our team, because they just keep eating and eating and eating, but they're burning so many calories every day. They have to replace them, and some of them have to put weight on, so they got to eat even more.
Yeah, that's some of those. Like, I'm an Illinois fan as well. Some of those, like, you see those transformations, like doing that while also playing basketball that's something I could never do.
And feeding I have a son, 2 daughters. Feeding my son is a lot more than feeding my daughters.
My mom knows a lot about that.
Your mom, I feel for her, because that grocery bill goes up when you have boys in that house.
Yeah, she had 2 boys. My dad's mother had 6.
There you go. Well,
so
they know.
And then this is her last question.
Coach Wardle, you've got a whole men's team to manage and a daughter playing at Bradley. Be honest, who's easier to coach, 18 college guys or your own kid?
It's great. It's so mother and parent question. I love it. Obviously, when you coach your kids, you got to be careful about it. I've never coached my kids, a team. I have filled in and coached a game or so here and there when their AU coach couldn't make a game. I have jumped in and helped. I can't coach my son legally because he's a boy.
Yeah. And
so I can't coach any boys' teams, but I could coach my daughters. So I've coached Emmy in about 1 game and Maya probably in about 2 or 3 over her career, so in AAU. And it was fun. We had a great time. It actually is easier to coach than be a fan and sit and watch. I'd almost rather coach, because that's just I'm wired that way in basketball, that is. But definitely coaching 18 young men is probably a little more challenging than my daughter. And I'll be honest, women, they're a little smarter than men. We all know that.
Yeah.
They listen better. They're more rule following than men are, so it's definitely a lot easier coaching my daughters than it is even my son.
Totally. And now we'll kind of do like a little bit about you. Obviously, you played at Marquette in your early coaching years. What experience from playing, right, Marquette professionally shaped you to be the coach that you are today?
Well, I was always an overachiever. I hated being outworked. I was big on, I would always have a chip on my shoulder and I would always find things to motivate me, self-motivate me. So I was kind of one of those person that I like to prove people wrong. That's kind of how I'm wired. I don't know if it's the healthiest way, but that's just who I am. And I've learned how to kind of control that. But even as a player, I always did the extra, and I tried to outwork and never let people pass me by. And if I felt like I was getting outworked by a teammate, I would work even harder. And so I was just kind of wired that way. That led me into coaching, because that's really what kind of coaching is. It's the preparation. It's doing the extra. It's always looking for an edge, always looking for an advantage. And when I was a player, I just had, not only my high school coaches by my senior year, but my college coaches, even my pro coaches when I played pro ball. When I was with the Fayetteville Patriots, and this is before the G League, this is the NBDL. In 2001, very first year the D League ever was open, I was in it, and I played for Fayetteville. And I had Nate Tiny Archibald was my coach. And if anyone that knows basketball listening, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a top 50 player ever in the NBA. But Nate was an NBA guy coaching minor league basketball, semi-pro basketball. So he would call me and be like, "Hey B, I'm running a little late. Can you put the team through the baseline out of bounds plays and the sideline out of bounds plays and make sure that we know all our sets and stuff like that?" And so I was always that kind of, as a pro, I was kind of that assistant coach, and the player that the coaches really leaned on. So I knew then, and I kind of knew in college and high school, this game, I could pick things up very fast. I was a vocal guy. I was a high energy guy. I was a worker, and it kind of just felt natural to me to kind of get into coaching after playing.
Totally, and that's something that even when talking to Maya, that's something that she wants to do after her playing career is over. When I was talking to her, she said coaching is one of her goals as well, which is pretty cool.
I mean, right now it is, and I think she could be really good at it. And she's always elevated others, and she brings energy, and people love playing with her and being around her. And so, I hope it's something she still wants to do when her career's over, because it is a tough lifestyle. She knows that. She's seen it with me. You got to take the good with the bad, but I always view the good outweighs the bad for sure. And if you're competitive and you love the game, and it's the closest you can get to playing.
Exactly.
Is coaching, and so I've really enjoyed the competitive spirit, the competitive edge that I get with it, the preparation, but also seeing obviously lives change, men grow up, guys move on, and that brings a lot of joy to you as a coach as you go through this as a career.
Totally. And now we'll kind of talk. You took over Bradley in 2015. And right, it was sort of not in a struggling phase, but definitely wasn't where it is now. When you walked into your office right over there, what was the first thing you envisioned and saw with what you can do with this Bradley program?
Well, you go in with a plan that in the first couple weeks, and obviously the first thing I wanted to get to know was the players. Where are we academically? Where are we as a roster? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Totally. I tried to learn quickly about Peoria, quickly about the campus, the university. And then really, you have a stack of stuff you got to look through and prepare for. And then you find solutions. It's easy to spot the problems. And we had some problems, quite a few of them. But what are the solutions? How do we find the solutions to this? Well, how do we get this mindset changed or this situation, finalized and move on? And so there's just a lot of, you got to look for solutions and have people around you that are positive and looking for solutions too. And that's what I surrounded myself with my staff. And then you move into the roster, recruiting, and then you just build it from there. And it takes time. There's ups and downs. You learn a lot. But overall, the people here in Peoria and at Bradley University were just super supportive and love seeing this program win. Because when we're winning, it impacts not just the university, the city, our players' lives. There's so many ways our program can impact the community too. So we tried to, put together a roster that can contend for a championship every year and make an impact. And
I think you've done a great job of doing that. As a coach, right, a lot of coaches talk about their culture that they made and all this stuff. What would you say you would define the culture here at Bradley that you sort of brought and built?
Well, coach's speech you hear all over social media and in interviews and behind the microphone, and you hear all these quotes from books and cliches, and and I've heard it all. And what I really try to pride myself on, and I tell people this, is I'm not going to get in a mic and just sell, and put my market all the time. I'm just watch my actions.
Yeah, totally.
Come by me every day. Come through the hallways. What you hear, see, and feel, the habits that you hear, see, and feel, the talk, the passion, the intensity. That's your culture, and it can't be words on a wall. It can't be words that you type up on Instagram or on X. It's got to be actions. It's got to be who you are. And so I always try to tell people, you're going to see the real Brian Wardle every day, the good, the bad, the ugly. Totally. I'm not perfect. We're all evolving. We're all trying to grow and get better, but I'm real. And the program's real. And we're honest with each other. And we have real relationships, the good and the bad. And we work hard, we do the extra, and we are unselfish. And those are the things that I would tell you. We're obviously committed to a process. Everybody's that.
Yes.
But I think we're an unselfish attitude. We do the extra, and we have open and honest communication so that we're all on the same page and our stars in our role. And that's really what we're about. And I try not to say it a lot. I just want people to feel it and see it with how we play, but also the bench, the locker room, and in our hallways and through the offices every day.
Totally. And you've built this program, right? We talked about it a lot, into a real contender in the Missouri Valley, which I may have some bias, right? I'm a Bradley fan.
Well, I appreciate that.
So may have some bias in saying this, but I think the Valley is arguably the best mid-major conference in the country right now. You could consider the WCC, but what Gonzaga is doing, I mean, that whole conference, you played San Francisco, that whole conference is a very, I would say the Valley and WCC are.
I mean, there's so many good ones. WCC, Atlantic 10. We're right there at 9 or 10 in the net. We need to get multi-teams back in the NCAA tournament.
I agree.
It's a really, really tough basketball league.
Totally.
From top to bottom.
That's
kind of what separates our league from top to bottom. There really aren't easy games. Some years I've been here, there's been some teams that I'm like, okay, we got to win both.
Yeah.
But just going on the road in the Valley is really hard to win. Where if you look at other leagues, there's 3, 4, sometimes 5 teams you're going to win on the road and get 2 wins.
Exactly.
And I've never felt that way about this league other than maybe a couple seasons. And it's just a real challenge. But as a competitor, that's what you want.
Exactly.
The crowds are great. People support basketball in the Valley, and they support it in all the cities, not just Peoria.
Totally.
Now, we have the best fan base in the league, but there's fans in every arena we go to on the road, and they definitely love when Bradley comes into town. So it's a lot of fun as a competitor to compete and play those type of teams and programs.
Totally. And right now we're in basketball, I mean, in really all sports now, it's very highly analytic driven. What is that like as a coach, right? Because now we're seeing analytics and everything. You talked about how it's evolving every day, every second. So how do you kind of, right, without obviously saying too much, has the analytic side of the sport evolved and changed in your coaching style as well? Because 10 years ago when you got the job, analytics were just, there, but they weren't.
No, I mean, there's a lot's changed in my years as head coach, even at Green Bay before Bradley.
Yeah.
And, I'm a simple coach. I do value simplicity and being good at what you do, and you're not going to be able to be good at everything. You got to be good at 2 or 3 things on both sides of the ball, I think, and that's what we really focus on every day. But analytics, it's important. I mean, we look into them. I have a couple assistants that are really into it. I'm not, because it kind of confuses me sometimes, and it gets you away from your identity. Like, we just want to be better. We got to be good defensively, points per possession. That's big to me. Like, are we under a point per possession defensively? And sometimes we may give up field goal percentage a little high, but hey, we turned them over 20 times.
Yes.
Like a Washington State game, for example, and they were at .89 or .9. So those are analytic numbers, points per possession, but we kind of knew about that about 10 years ago. I don't dive into all of them a whole lot, but we do look at certain things. Now, I know some coaches that they'll change their offensive system based on where they shoot the ball, on what part of the court, and what kind of shot they have for those analytics. I'm not that. We try to keep it simple and be just really good at a few things and focus on that and try to master those things.
Totally. And right, to kind of talk a little bit how analytics don't really affect you in those, right, and this doesn't have to be really based off of analytics, in those moments where it's in the game, right, fourth or second last 2 minutes of second half, there's a big play, right? You could either challenge, make a sub. In those sort of big time moments, do you have going into the game a set? If we somehow get to right, we have to foul or something. Do you have that set in your head before the game, or is that something that happens right on the spot?
No.
You're like, I'm doing that.
No, we're prepared. It's a great question. I mean, let's say we're up 3 under 6 seconds. In our program, we know we're going to foul. Mm-hmm. We're going to foul on the dribble. Now,
Totally.
obviously, if they throw it in there near the 3-point line, we can. We want them to go make a free throw, miss a free throw, get the rebound, and put it in.
Totally.
But it's under 6 seconds. So, we have some philosophies that we know as a program, the players know, the coaches know going into every game. Mm-hmm. Some is feel during that game,
Totally,
based on who's playing well, maybe, or substitutions, or you're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds. So some games, a certain player maybe not be in rhythm or have the confidence, and you might look to someone else. So you don't set in stone that, but a lot of the things like that, certain scenarios, situations, I do know going into the game how we want to handle them. But it's ever flowing, and when you come to analytics, going back to that question, a lot of people go to the end of the game with analytics in mind.
Yeah.
I don't do that necessarily.
Totally.
I'm more of a feel guy.
I get that.
But I do think there are some that are important. To think about is, under 3 seconds, you got the baseline, you got to go the length of the floor, sideline out of bounds. You got to know what you're going to and have it ready and prepared, and have it practiced and repped so the players are comfortable and confident. So all those things we do. But there are so many analytics out there, it almost confuses me and there's the thing about basketball, there's so many factors that go into a game. What's your officiating crew? Mm-hmm. Huge factor.
Yes.
Injuries. They go, these are the best lineups for this game, or the plus minus. I'm not a big plus minus guy because you don't know who you're playing with out there.
Exactly.
Every lineup changes based on foul trouble or injuries or just rotation things. I mean, maybe after 10 games you can figure out maybe a lineup that flows together, but I'm not big on that game to game because the game is ever changing, ever flowing, and it's an up and down momentum, and there's just so many other factors in a college basketball game that factor in that you can't put into analytics. No. You can't put into numbers. So I think you do got to have some feel to it too in games.
Exactly, and I think you hit a great point with you can't put the fans, right? I know, right, playing Duke, but that's just the first thing that comes to mind. A team plays terrible at Duke because the fans are literally, if you pass the ball, they're literally this close. Yeah. They scream, same at Carver. They're really loud. I've been there when it's crazy. You can't put those in analytics form. You can't put that in the plus minus, right? Maybe someone will play worse in that moment because of the fans, the fans are basically, I would say, another defender with how loud it is.
People don't understand we're still dealing with, when we go out on that court for 2 hours, we're there to entertain, and that's what we get judged on, that scoreboard. And these players do too. But they don't understand, hey, one of my players might have lost a cousin 2 days ago.
Yes.
And it's still affecting him. And he's still out there playing, but he's not himself, maybe mentally. Or physically, he didn't have the preparation that he needed to be performed at a high level. Or the fan base, or maybe someone's sick from food poisoning, or they twisted their, they fell on their wrist the day before, but they're still playing with the wrist taped up and may not be, there's so many factors that go into a game. Fans, crowd, music, band, you never know. I've seen it all in my career. So you got to be able to have that feel and that pulse of your team, engage the temperature of the locker room at halftime before the game to, I think, coach well down the stretch.
Totally. I think you hit a great point, whereas that's one thing that, as a sports communication guy, that's something that I've seen a lot more in these sports, is where the fans view the athletes and the coaches as sort of toys, just things of entertainment, not actual people, not humans. And I think we're starting to see that a lot more with a lot of guys coming out talking about their mental health. Johnny Manziel, I think about him in his documentary, right? A.J. Brown, Kevin Love, all these athletes, Simone Biles, are all coming out and saying we deal with stuff. I think you made a great point about that with when they talked about, when you brought up someone might have lost their cousin. No one knows about that except for you guys.
Right. And now what I would say is we chose to do this.
Yeah.
This is a choice. So we have to do it. We got to be able to turn off all that and get on that court and perform at a high level and block that all out.
Totally.
We're trained athletes to do that, especially mentally. How do I block this out and focus to be in the moment and concentrate to be in that moment, one possession at a time? Be where your feet are, the old phrase. So we are trained to do that. That's our job. We chose to do it. So I don't think people should want sympathy from others, because guess what? My dad worked at a sign shop his whole life, and he had a lot going on too with his health or the family, and he had to block it all out and go to work.
Yeah.
And make those signs on time and deliver and do his job. So I mean, it's I don't want to see, people. No one should be whining about it or looking for sympathy. And we have chose to do this as a profession. We have chose to do this as a college student athlete. We got to still go out there and do the very best we can to perform. Now, sometimes there are factors that maybe don't lead to the best performance ever that we're not going to share publicly. So those are things you want to keep in mind. But we're always going to go out there and try to put the best product on the floor and perform to the highest level, no matter the circumstances that we're going through.
Totally. And now I'll kind of switch it to more of a recruiting thing, not obviously giving away what you're looking for, but what is something that you, just in general, in a majority, a good chunk of your recruits, do you look for, right? There could be someone that's a lot more talented but doesn't match what you're looking for. So what is that something that you kind of look for when you're going on recruit? Is there any things that sort of you want them to already have, or you see them have that you guys can really develop?
Yeah, my thing, John, for any young managers, leaders, putting together a team, whatever it's for, like what if this podcast blows up and you need to put a team together for your podcast?
Yeah.
I tell you, recruit a team, not talent. And what I mean by that is you got to recruit guys that you can lose with, but are unselfish, that will understand they're going to have a role. People want to throw that word out now on social media. No, but it's all about having a role. You got to be a star in your role. When you have a family, everybody in your family has a role.
Yes.
And you got to be a star in your role, embrace it and be a star. So I really try to, there's talent everywhere. There's so much talent. We have so much talent in our locker room. But, everyone can bring value in certain areas that others can't. And so I really try to just see, all right, what do we need in this recruiting class? Now, obviously, the word character gets brought up. I talk about championship DNA, and what I mean by championship DNA, and I'll give you like the, toughness, character, all that. But I really look at we're all products of our environment. What environment do they come from?
Yes.
Family life. Have they been told no before? Because I'm going to tell them no, and be honest with them and direct, because that's how I kind of coach. And people have never been told no before by their parents. They can struggle with that. First time in their life, 19 years old.
Yeah.
Hey, John, you might not be as good a shooter as you think you are. I'm sorry. You're shooting 20% from three every day. Stop shooting that shot. It's not working right now. We'll work on it in the off season. But then if they go home and they make that, I always say there's that security blanket phone call that people call to hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
I need to know I got a family that can trust me, wants their son to come into a winning, unselfish environment, hardworking, disciplined environment that they're going to develop and get better in. And so little things like that, family environment, how do they handle themselves during adversity? I love seeing them play bad. People always are like, well, you want to see them play good every time? No. I kind of like seeing the struggle. I want to see how they handle it. Because guess what? They're going to struggle.
Yes.
And if they're going to, especially as freshmen and sophomores, you go through the ups and downs, and are they going to quit? Are they going to hang their head? Are they going to be negative towards their coach or their teammates? All these little things I look for in championship DNA. Number one thing.
Yes.
Second thing now is basketball IQ and feel. And they're different. So IQ is, can you run a play? So can you execute? So if you draw up a play, John, I can do exactly what you want, whether it's screen, cut, space, stand in the corner, spot up for three, whatever it is, I can execute everything that you want. Then there's feel for the game, which is, do I know when to shoot, pass, and dribble? So a lot of the times now, kids over dribble, and they dribble a lot, or they take bad shots. Or I'll hear parents like, shoot the ball. And it's like, no, don't shoot. That's a bad shot. Like, move the ball to the open man.
Yeah.
Share the ball and play unselfish. The shooting will come. And that's what I try to teach my three kids, how to pass.
Yeah.
And how to play unselfish. And the other stuff will happen for you the harder you work and the more confident you get and stronger you get and all that. But I look for that IQ, feel, and championship DNA, and a lot of different factors go into that.
Totally, and I think you hit it perfectly with being freshman and sophomore, having that struggle. It's so rare. Like, even though you see it every year, there's always one and dones at the Dukes and stuff. Those dudes could go out, if they could still, they would go out of high school to the draft. Those dudes are. There's a different level, and that's not saying the people here, the freshmen here, the freshmen all around. mid-majors or even the power fours that don't go
Right.
to the pros year one. It's a different game, and I've known that. I never played basketball in high school, but watching high school compared to this, it's a whole nother. And now I'm a practice player for the women's team,
Oh, yeah.
so you see how much faster.
Hey, those girls can hoop too.
Oh, yes, I'm aware. Especially as someone who's not the best, player.
Right.
I get my business handed to me.
Yeah.
But just being in the practices, watching the games, you realize how much fast paced, how much more physical. Like even with the girls, right? People will be like, "Oh, it gets physical," because I'm usually down in it's physical game.
No, women's basketball has been elevated dramatically over the last decade. It's really good basketball now. But like you're saying, decision making.
Mm-hmm.
You have to process and think in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Every possession,
Yeah.
especially as a point guard.
Oh,
The processing as a point guard and thinking and talking is it's a quarterback in football.
Yeah.
High level. And every level you go up, because I played pro ball, it gets faster.
yeah,
And it gets more physical and it's more athletic and you have less time to make decisions.
Yeah.
So it's, when people say don't think, just play, that's good in high school and AAU and at the park.
Mm-hmm.
This game you have to process and
Yes.
think. I understand the concept of that phrase, but I want my guys to be able to, you're going to have to think a little bit, and then, but you got to process faster. Like,
Yes.
It's all about decision making and not taking quick shots, making quick decisions. That's good teams and good
Yes.
players. And so that's, I think, what you're feeling every day in practice is like, man, everything happens a little faster, a little more intense, a little more physical than I'm used to. And that's why it takes freshman time to adjust.
Exactly.
And some adjust quicker than others because some people come from a program that's prepared them more than others. So it just takes a little time, and that's why you got to have patience with young players. Like I got 8 freshmen and sophomores. I got to remind myself of that. I have a very high expectation and standards for my program and my players, and I'm not lowering it, but I might have a little bit more patience with the deadline with a younger team than an older team. So,
Totally.
but that's the fun part as a competitor. I mean, you get to this level, the work, the study, the film, and then getting on that floor and being able to figure it out in practice every day and be consistent with it is the great challenge.
And I think we're seeing that. I think you hit it perfectly. You talked about how you have a really young team. We're seeing that perfectly. I think you talked about how you're going to have a little bit of a hard freshman year. Then you're going to have a jump. We're seeing that with your sophomores this year too. Kwani's having a big jump. Timo. These guys are having big jumps this year, and I think that's because they're starting to get used to the game.
No, and it's Corey Thomas' second year. Meta's only third year. Birch's third year. I mean, we're a very young team, and but I love seeing Kwani from now since last year, night and day. In November and December, and so Timo too.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to see is you want to see those jumps from your freshman to sophomore year, from sophomore to junior year, and junior to senior year. You hope if you can keep the guys around that long, which is our goal here, they're going to just get better and better. And that's as long as you don't lower the standard for them. You keep raising the bar, and that's kind of how I coach. So people always like, you're intense, coach, or fiery. I just have high expectations because I've never been thanked by any former player for having low expectations for them.
And that's
Never
I think,
been.
awesome.
I've always been, you know what, coach, thank you for pushing me. Because, it's the old Vince Lombardi quote. I tell the players and how I coach, we're going to chase perfection knowing we're never going to get there because no one's perfect and no team, and you can't be perfect in basketball. It's a game of mistakes. But we're going to chase it knowing we're going to reach excellence along the way at times. And that's kind of what I do with my players too is, hey, we may never get to where we are talking about, but guess what? You're going to hit excellence along the way and have these games and moments and 10-game spans and 5-game spans that you'll never forget. And that's what it's all about.
I mean, even though I'm a diehard Bears fan,
So am I.
That Vince Lombardi quote is, I think, a great quote. I think that is, everyone wants to achieve greatness, perfect, but you can't be perfect. But if you keep on chasing that, you're always going to want to get better and better. That's what makes guys like Michael Jordan, like LeBron James, like the Luka Doncic's of the world, because they're always chasing that perfection, and they're never going to get it.
And I'm blessed to have guys in that locker room that want that and want to be coached. Because if you have that mentality in your program, that standard, then everyone gets coached evenly. Kwani's going to get coached as hard as my leading scorer, Kwani, or Alex. They're going to get coached the exact same as I'm coaching Gus, Gustavo, and Jackson, who are redshirting. You know what I mean? I'm coaching everybody fairly and the same because I'm trying to help them all grow, all get better, all develop, So that expectation and standard's a little different for each player, but you're never going to bring it down
Exactly.
and turn a cheek and just say whatever.
Yeah.
That's just not how I'm wired either.
Exactly.
And so they can find coaches that are wired differently, but I'm just not wired that way.
Exactly. And I think that's a reason why we've been able to retain so many players is because you don't do that.
Right.
Because if a coach does that, if I'm a player, why do I want to stay here if the guy doesn't only gives me the show and respect when I'm playing? I want that when I'm not playing, when I'm redshirting, when I'm injured. And it sounds like you've done a great. I mean, no, Duke Dean. When you get people, they stay. And I don't think that's an issue.
And that's a mature observation from you, John. To be honest, because a lot of young people don't understand that. Like, and even the fans maybe in the outside, because all they see is I have a deep, loud voice, and I'll yell once in a while in a game, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, he yelled!" And why would the players want to be yelled at here and there? I'm like, yeah, but they don't see all the other things behind the scenes. When I do put my arm around them and say, proud of you, great job, this. There's so much more of that than people even know. But I'm fair.
Yes.
And I'm honest and I'm fair. And I'm always there for them when they need anything. And I think that's the stuff that helps players. They know they're going to get treated fairly and be told the truth. And with social media now, and you're a young guy, you maybe can agree with this. I don't know what I see with my kids and my players. There's so much manipulation and lying out there, even with Snapchat.
Yes.
I mean, that's not, or I call it Facebook fake book. I used to call it fake book because I know people are like, that's not their real life. But
yeah.
They're putting up this
persona,
this fake story narrative. And it's like, what is real? Like, young people, I think, are like, what is real? What's not? Like, is that honest or
yes.
not? And you guys got to always wonder. I don't think people would think that with me. So I try to be very honest because so people feel very confident and comfortable. Like, I know who this person is every day and what he stands for and who he is. And that's what I try to do every day.
Yeah, I mean, as a dude who's always on social media, right? Because that's how we connect. We were talking before we started recording about that Michigan thing. It's all over Instagram, social media. One of the first things I do is when I see something, I go, is that AI? Because of all the advancements now, is that real? Is that fake? You can't, unless it's, used to be Woj bombs, now it's Shams. Like, unless it was the official, news insider, you didn't believe it. And now I feel like it's even more like that because there's Instagram pages that are like NFL on Fox, but instead of Fox, it says facts, and it has a verification. So everyone believes it, but then it's not true because it's a burner account.
It's really hard. Like, what is real, what's not? And I've noticed that over the years of social media, when social media started to get big. But now, I'm pushing 50, and I'm so at my age, I start to see this AI, and like my daughter Maya will show me stuff, or Emmy, and my players I'm like, and it looks real.
Yeah.
Like,
oh,
it's a real video of real people, and it's fake.
Yes.
And they're like, that's fake. That's all fake. And I'm the same way. I'm like, what is real and what's not now? At least as humans, when we interact every day together, let's be real with each other.
Exactly.
Let's not be fake, because you young people got to deal with that all the time. I'm not on social media like that, so I don't. But I feel for this younger generation because they got to really figure out, all right, who's being honest with me, who really cares about me, who's just telling me what I want to hear and wants me to and using me for this. I hope not. I don't think any of my players don't feel that way, and I hope they don't, because we try to take care of our guys in a lot of ways.
Totally. And you talked a little bit, we'll go back to your professional career. You talked a little bit how you played professionally. What does that do, right? You were a guard. What does that do? We've had a lot of successful guards and successful players in general, but we've had a lot of guards, right? When you think of Bradley, you think of all the guards. What is that like, right? You had the professional experience, and when I was talking to AJ, one of the things you told him, you get your guys paid. You do. What is the experience like, that the professional experience that you had, right? You can offer them experience coaching. What is coaching them like? And then when they get to that next level, you're always going to be in their corner, always available for them. So what is that experience like when you give them and help sort of coach them, right? And being a guard professionally, dealing with all that adversity.
Well, you tell them stories. I mean, because pro ball was different when I was there. I mean, well over, it's 24 or 25 years ago, practically 20 years ago. It was a little different. Obviously, college basketball is a lot different than when I played. But some things are still the same. Like, you better be a great teammate, listen, do what the coach asks, execute, or you're going to be gone. In the professional, these guys are kind of pros now with the NIL and the portal and everything. But they can't get fired in season.
No.
And when you're a pro, my first year as a rookie, I was the only player, me and I think Greg Steppen, I remember him as my roommate from Toledo. We were the only two on our team to make it from start to finish.
Jeez.
It's a recycling door, like the revolving door of players coming in and out, in and out, in and out. And a lot of these guys, they don't know the playbook. They're late. They didn't go to the lifting session. They didn't, and it's just like, what are you doing? And they're getting cut, and they're getting cut, and they're getting cut. So I really am fortunate about my years at Marquette with Mike Dean and Tom Crean. I learned that discipline. I learned accountability. I learned to do the extra and listen and execute and do what the coaches ask. Because when you get to be a pro, if you have a bad week or two of performances and you're not coming in extra shooting or doing, they're going to cut you.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not going to talk to you about it.
No, they're just going to be like, you're done.
They're going to call your agent and tell you, hey, we released you. All your stuff is in the locker room or in the storage room. Please pick it up. Thank you. Good luck with your next spot.
Yeah.
And there's no relationship with the coaches either. The coaches come in to practice and they leave. And it's a different world. And so you just try to give your players that information and tell them these habits I'm trying to give you are going to help you be successful at the next step. And I think a lot of my guys have been, no matter what level, I don't even care what level, their GMs and coaches have been happy with them. And I think that, and they're still with their same agents. And that shows, I'm proud of that, because it shows that they're disciplined and they're a good teammate and they listen and they try to execute and they're trying to help make winning plays for their team because their coaches and GMs are happy with them. So that's the stuff you try to give them. And then they go in the real world, business world, it's the same things.
Exactly.
It's the same stuff that's going to make you last and stick around and move up the ladder. And so that's what we try to just give our guys every day. And, getting them paid and with the NIL is important to me because, I want to make sure my guys feel valued and respected in their craft. And that's why I spend a lot of time doing that in the community. But it's the other intangible things that are really going to make you last and have a long playing career.
Exactly. And I think one of the first things I said to AJ when I was interviewing him and he brought up the getting paid, if I remember, I think 4 of the 5 starters from last year, and the only reason why the 5th one isn't is because he's still here, are all playing professionally, right? Duke, Zeke, CD, and Darius are all playing professionally. So there's a reason why we were one of the best mid-major teams in the country, because all those dudes are professional basketball players.
Right. And mature men. And they matured each year they were here, and hard workers. And and I don't take credit for that. I mean, it's the player that has to make the changes.
Exactly.
The player's got to do it. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It's that old phrase. It's true. It's true. We just try to lead all our horses and all our guys to the water and show them, here, this blueprint will work for you if you buy in. And those guys all did, and they had it. And some of them had it in them right when they got here, and some learned a lot each year. And I just hope that they continue on that path because it's fun to watch their careers, and they'll continue to grow and get better too.
Totally. And to kind of continue right on the coaching stuff, what is I think mid majors now, especially with NIL, do such a great job, and we see all these, right? I'm an Illinois fan as well. You think of guys like Marcus Domask, guys who have come from these smaller schools, and then once they get put in the big light, do amazing things. Rennick Most now at Nebraska is doing amazing things. So what are some of your favorite, and it could be one, a few of your favorite sort of coaching development stories where you've seen a guy go, right? We talked a little bit about Kwani and Timo and all those guys, second-year guys are making big jumps. Or it could be, you've been here for a while, so any of those guys, any of your favorite that you've seen continuous, sophomore, junior, senior, that just have been insane jumps?
Well, I think our program has a reputation of development too throughout the country. Players know we get players better here. I can go back to, I laugh with my old Green Bay players. Like, I would have lost all you guys to the portal possibly after a couple of years, like Kiefer Sykes and G. Mays and Love and Faust. Like, I had some, Alec Brown, I had some great players at Green Bay. It was just different then. They stayed all 4 years. Yeah. And they got better. And they won championships. And that's why I'm at Bradley. And Darryl Brown and Elijah Childs and D'Lo and, Nate Cannell. we had and Koch Barr. We had so many great players that built this program up. But it was different then. They just kept getting better each year, and we kept bringing them back, and they got more mature, and they find better rhythm together, and then you just start playing at a higher level because you start practicing at a higher level every day. And so I think for us, when it comes to Rink, just super proud of him. He was always he gave us 3 years. We won a championship together. High IQ, high feel. Yes. Hard worker. Came in that way, though. Came in with the work ethic. He came in like that from day one. But I had Terry Roberts for a year. He had an unbelievable year. Went to Georgia. Me and Terry still talk. So I understand the landscape's different. I just want my players. I try to get everyone to stay 2 years. I always think you give something 2 years.
Yes.
And I even say that with Maya, who left after 1 year. I wasn't like, you should transfer at all. I'm not that dad. I'd give it another year, see what happens after 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, she wanted to come home. There were other reasons and factors for her to make that decision. And it's her life and her decision.
Exactly.
But my advice is always try to give it 2 years, because I think first year can always be up and down. But to retain a Malavi Leones, to keep Duke, to keep Darius, to bring Zeke back.
Yes, that one was very cool.
That was pretty special to me, because that was a young man that I thought is really good, talented, and he really matured while he was here. So it was fun to watch. But so many stories, and you talk about Adante Thomas, the one player I inherited that stayed, that didn't play at all as a freshman, and then sophomore year, got a little better. By junior and senior year, he was an All Valley guy. Yeah, and he just a man. He went from a young man to a man, and that was really cool to see too. So it's been fun, but and you're hitting on a point that I love about coaching, seeing guys maybe that come in looking down, not saying a whole lot around adults, not sure of themselves, leaving as a eye-to-eye handshake. We'll talk for 30 minutes about whatever, and just sure of themselves and who they are as humans. And I think that's the coolest part.
Exactly, and I think I know I've hammered it home with Kwani, but I feel like that's a perfect embodiment. Last year you saw in the interviews and all that he would mumble, sort of talk quietly.
Not anymore.
Now he's talking with his chest. He's a lot more proud. And
Birch too, Demarion Birch is a man now, and it's pretty cool. And those guys, everybody comes from different backgrounds and cities, and whether it's urban or rural areas, it doesn't matter. Everybody comes to college to mature.
Exactly.
And grow as a human. And I think that's why in education is so important. It helps start thinking. Think outside the box. Think about things and process things and watch how it helps you grow up as a person and as an individual and gives you confidence. And I think that's the great part about college.
Totally. And you talked a little about the transfer portal now. I kind of want to ask you, right, you talked at Green Bay how there was a portal, but it wasn't what it is now. No. So what is right with the NIL, with the transfer portal growing every single day? What is that? How has that kind of changed your coaching style?
It hasn't a whole lot. People have asked me. That's a great question, because I think I've seen coaches in this business change who they are as a person and try to coach differently, and it's backfired.
Yeah.
And I've tried that in my years, and I didn't have good years. So I think you got to stay true to who you are as a person, keep evolving, understanding young people are always evolving too. And with the younger generation comes a lot of strengths, and there's some weaknesses. There's some things that are different from 10 years ago. So you have to adjust a little bit. But I think as a coach, you just got to be true to who you are. Keep coaching the way you are. Be honest and open and direct about things. Don't beat around the bush or try to sugarcoat things, and just trust that what your program stands for, the standards, the culture is strong, and that people will want to be a part of it. So even if you lose some guys, guess what? There's a lot of guys that would love to be a part of Bradley basketball, and it's a great spot and a great situation to be in. So we just try to be ourselves and keep coaching and growing our players. And I think as players know they're going to get better and they're developing and growing, it's hard for them to leave when they know that, no matter what the money is. And that's the thing. I think NIL needs some regulation? Absolutely.
Yes,
I think everything everyone knows it's a little out of control right now. How that happens, I don't know. I leave that up to the lawyers and politicians or whoever wants. But we are an open, free market with no regulation right now. And so get us a little regulation. Am I happy that players can get paid some? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I completely agree.
Video games, it's $1 billion business. Billions. March Madness and NCAA men's basketball and football. Billions.
Exactly.
The student athletes, the players in the whole process are going to get money eventually. So it was only a matter of time, in my opinion, this was going to happen. But now it kind of happened. No guardrails, no fence.
No, they just
boom. Let's go. Let's just put a little bit of. Everybody likes to have a fence. I like to have a fence. Everybody likes to have a little fence around them.
I agree.
We just need a little fence around it.
I agree, because we're seeing Ohio State last year in football, $20+ million roster. This year, Kentucky men's basketball, $20+ million roster, right? And I completely agree. I think I talked a little bit about the Johnny Manziel documentary. That documentary, I think, showed why NIL should be a thing. And why it needs some regulations. Because if it doesn't, it can get out of hand just like that. Athletes can start thinking, I'm making millions of dollars, I don't got to play.
Right.
That's why you have to sort of have a regulation, right? If I give you this much money, you got to be willing to put this much in, or else we're not going to do this. And I think I completely agree. You need a sort of gate, because teams putting $20 million compared, right? Because those Kentucky teams are going to play mid-major teams.
Right.
Are just.
And it's like if you're a student, John, and you got a job at Target, paying your own way through school, like you got to show up on time.
Exactly.
You got to work hard. You got to bring value to your employer. And if you don't, you get fired.
Exactly.
And so I think right now they need, like, if we're going to make them employees and they are under contract, then their contract's got to be binding, like mine is.
Yes.
Like yours is, or for whatever job you have. Like, so I think there's some things we can do to help it can help these young people grow too, and understand, there are consequences to your choices, and there's obligations and responsibilities under this contract that you have to abide to. And I do know for a fact there's some people are getting paid and have no regulation and aren't abiding to it. Now my players are.
Yes.
And I think we do things the right way. But I think as a whole, we can really use this opportunity to help a lot of people change their lives, change their families' lives, but also teach them great life lessons as they leave here out of college, so that they're successful. I'm worried about how some of these guys are going to be 10 years from now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, what are we really giving them the best life lessons possible right now in college athletics? I don't think we are, until we get more regulation and understanding of what we're doing, so that we're in 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, everyone is better off because of it.
I completely agree with that,
because kids aren't graduating either right
exactly
now. And
they're just leaving.
And when you every year you transfer, the harder it is to graduate in 4 years.
Yes.
So many kids aren't graduating. They're hoping they come back and get their degree 5-10 years later. That's probably not going to happen. So we need to find a way too where we're still getting their degrees and valuing the educational side on with the portal and NIL. And I think there's solutions to it. I just think we got to get everyone. Hopefully we can all come together and find them.
Totally. And I think, you talked about how guys are not graduating. You're not seeing that here. You're seeing them complete their years, get their degree, and then go play pro. Like Duke is Christian, right? All these guys, they're playing professionally, but they also do have a college degree to back them up. If, let's say something terrible happens, they get a terrible injury, and they can't play basketball anymore, they have that degree to back up on. And I think that's something that's also important, is you're a student athlete. Student first, athlete second. And I think that's what's getting lost in all this NIL, is you're putting your athlete, you're being a free agent instead of a student, which at my age, at a college kid's age, you're not the wisest with money. So you should let the degree come before you get the money.
And that's what we try to bring in speakers. We try to bring in people throughout the year to speak to our guys about life lessons, like real life things, like taxes, how to get a mortgage one day, like loans, like how to change a tire, how to change your oil. Like, we do all kinds of stuff as a team, just to teach them real life skills.
That's good. Yeah.
And I think that's important. And with all this NIL talk, I mean, it is important to know, like, these young men that play basketball, it's a hard job. It's a choice to do this job. We love it. It's a hard job, though. They're earning it. And there's a lot of pressure and stress that you may not have as a regular student. When we started the year off, I think we were 1-3.
Yeah.
A lot of our guys were getting hammered on social media and had to close their accounts.
Oh, wow.
And just shut, because I told them, just block that out. Block it, or just shut them down and just play ball, be a student. Don't even worry about that. So, like, there's a lot of things that go into being a student athlete and being on TV and playing in front of thousands that isn't always fun, put it that way. But like I always say, the good outweighs the bad. So you just keep plugging away and you keep improving and you learn how to handle all that, which our guys have. And I always said, don't worry about that. We'll turn this around. We're just improving, we're evolving, and we're going to keep going. And that's what we're doing. Totally.
And I got a few more questions here. You talked a little bit about dealing with the stress and the social media and everything. You're someone who, since you've built such a great and successful program here, you come in every season, it feels like, right? I've only been here 2 years, but I've known Bradley basketball has always been a really good, successful team. So how have you kind of dealt with, it feels like almost every year you guys are near the top of the valley. So how do you deal with those sort of high expectations of the success that you guys have had?
Yeah. Balance. I mean, basketball doesn't define me. It's what I do.
Yeah.
It's what I love, but it doesn't define who I am. So your family, your faith, hobbies. Having hobbies is important. Not working in the office all day. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not an 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. grinder like that. I don't want my staff to be that way. And that's why I've had a lot of coaches be with me a long time too. It's like we have a healthy, I think, work environment where we get here, we work hard, we're efficient, but we're not living in the office, where I want them to be home and have dinner with their wife and kids and be with their families. That's important because it can consume you because it's such a long season. And then right when the season's over, just the recruiting season begins. So you really don't get a break other than a couple weeks in August, a couple weeks in May. And that's fine because that's the nature of the beast and the animal. But you got to have hobbies. I love movies. I love going to the movie theater, watch a good show. I love watching my kids play sports. I love watching them play basketball. Is hard for me, John, but I love watching them play other sports.
I was going to bring that up because there's a big video on NCAA actually of you kind of. It looks like you're screaming at Maya in the video, but
it's funny. They caught a moment. I'm like, just talk out your switches, and I wasn't yelling at Maya. I'm trying to be a fan and just give some advice as a coach sitting there in an empty arena. But it's that's the hardest part, is watching basketball when it's your profession.
Totally.
It'd be like let's say 25 years from now, you've done podcasts and you blew up your social media and you've done a great job watching young podcasters.
Be like, oh.
And you want to
yeah.
You just kind of want to give little tidbits to help them out.
Exactly.
But no, as a fan, I love watching my kids compete. But it's definitely easier for me to watch them compete in other sports than the one I am consumed with every day.
Totally. I completely get that. So now we just have 5. I think I got 5, like sort of quick, funnish, not as serious as we've been talking about. Who's a coach or a leader, or it could be a player that really you look up to and has helped you a lot?
Oh, like when it comes to having a player or a coach. My college coaches were great. Mike Dean, Tom Crean. They were different, but they taught me a lot. Todd Kowalczyk, I really look up to him. He was my first assistant coaching job. Todd was the head coach at Green Bay. Learned so much from Todd, Tom Crean, Mike Dean, who coached me. I've kind of taken a little bit of all the head coaches I've played under or coached under. Totally. And so it's been really cool to see that. I've had some great players under me. And I've learned a lot from them. Yeah. I've learned from Darryl Brown. I learned from Nate Cannell. Koch Barr taught me things. Elijah. I've had great Jimmy Foster, Mike Bargan, Drew Adams. I've had tremendous coaches around me, too, that have taught me things. So it's hard to pinpoint one, but there's been so many mentors and people in my life that have affected me, from my parents. Obviously, my biggest role model is my mom and dad. To like Todd, who I taught, Coach Race, who was an assistant at Green Bay, became a mentor of mine. There's been so many people that I think as a young person, it'd be wise to find a group of older people that you look up to, pick their brain,
totally,
listen to them, tell them your situations. What would you do here? And you'd be amazed at what you learn from. And I have friends now that are like boosters of the program.
Yeah.
That I lean on for leadership advice,
okay.
or ask, hey, what would you do here when you worked at CAT, or when you worked for your business, or you led that business? And I think young people, pick people's brains, be a sponge, and you'd be amazed at what you can learn. And some fit you, some doesn't. Some can help you in that situation, some won't, but it will help you down the line.
Totally. And I think you kind of hit on the spot. That's one of the reasons why I do this. I love listening to, I've interviewed D1 athletes. I've interviewed professional athletes. Yeah. Now you're my first coach, by the way. I meant to say that.
There we go. I like it.
I love picking the brain and learning about them and what goes through their head on a day-to-day basis. What would you say, you said you have a few weeks during the whole year, would be your go-to rewind or unwind, sort of settle down, like, all right, I'm going to have a little break here. What would be the dream thing for you?
For a few weeks?
Yeah. Or it could be, it could be a day.
Oh, man. Well, I love going up north in Wisconsin and sitting pontooning and just sitting on the lake.
Fair.
And relaxing and swimming and just chilling, listening to music. Whether it's going to a movie at night and relaxing, it's like going to the games, basketball games. There's nothing like the smell of the popcorn, the hot dog, the beer, whatever it is. I love that smell of the movie theater. Whatever takes me away from basketball for like a few hours or a day, because it does. I live it every day, and I love it, but I live it, and it can consume you if you let it. So. Going down to Florida, we love going to Florida. My wife's from down there and grew up in Sarasota, so it could be anything. But usually with my family, and we have a good time.
Totally. And then, right, I feel like I've seen a lot of these on TikTok and Instagram now. If you weren't coaching basketball, what would you be doing?
Probably teaching and coaching, or teaching, and probably something.
Okay.
I think that's, some people would be sales. I don't know. I might be doing maybe some of this podcasting, or maybe commentating games. That's maybe something I might want to go into after I'm done coaching, get on the TV and talk ball and talk basketball. But my favorite place to be is on the court.
Fair.
One-on-one, one-on-two, and helping players get better.
Totally.
And that's where my roots are. And you can get away from it as a head coach, though, because you have so many other responsibilities. My roots are in the court and improving players.
Fair.
And so I would probably do that when I'm done coaching, is just maybe just do a little academy and one-on-one thing where I can help young people and parents understand how to get better and what it takes.
Totally. All right, last two questions. What is your favorite jersey that you have your team has worn, you have worn, or that you either could play against? And I'll try to find a picture of it. But yeah, there's a lot of great jerseys now in all of college, really.
Well, I'm a Bears fan, diehard too. And I'm watching HBO just the other night, The Shuffle. There's a documentary called The Shuffle.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this?
Yes, I've heard about it.
And the Super Bowl Shuffle for the 85 Bears was massive before social media, before all the media. And that was just such a cool documentary for me, because I had a Walter Payton jersey, 34, with Wardle. It was my parents gave me this jersey for my birthday, and he was my favorite player, Walter Payton. And then Michael Jordan, obviously, growing up in Chicago. But I had Wardle on the back, 34, and I had this fake Bears helmet, and I was a kid running around the yard thinking I was Walter Payton running around. And that was probably my coolest jersey ever, was my Walter Payton Wardle on the back jersey.
Fair.
After the great Walter Payton for the Bears.
Totally, yeah. My dad's speaking of Payton, we bought him a Payton jersey a few years ago for Christmas.
There you go.
That's something that he still wears.
That's great. That's great.
And then what is it like to have a daughter here that, right, you talked a little bit about, that also plays basketball, and she talked about when I interviewed you as well, that it's awesome having, right, now she's at Kentucky last year. Now she's a 5-minute walk or a phone call, right? She's from the area, so worst comes worst, she'll find you back at home. So what is that kind of like?
Well, it's great because mine and I are close. We're a lot alike. I think people always say you're a lot alike, and I'm like, well, she's the better of me. Trust me. She's got my wife in her too, which is a good thing. You don't want to be me every day, especially as a female. But she's got some of me in there, and then Alicia for sure. But I would say it's great because she lives it. I always say the 3 L's. You either like it, you love it, or you live it. And she lives ball. And she loves basketball, loves her teammates, loves her coaches. And that's cool to be around. As a father with the oldest, and as a coach every day around her, you have to be, it's hard because all right, I got to be dad here. Am I a coach here? Am I giving her coaching advice? Am I dad? Am I both? You got to just balance that the best you can.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like I am both a lot with her, but I got to also be there for her socially as a human, and it's can't just all be basketball.
Yeah, totally.
But that's what she loves, and that's what I love, and so we both talk it a lot. And Emmy's getting that way, and Davin too. So it's a lot of fun, but it's great to see her here. She loves Peoria, and is really happy to be a part of the program, and we're just grateful. We're very grateful as a family and parents to see our daughter in college and trying to work hard and live out her dreams.
Totally. And the last sort of question for young coaches or players listening, what is some advice that you would give them right now, right, for a young coach who's maybe starting their career at a school like Green Bay or a D2 or a D3, whatever? If they're listening, what advice would you give them that's gotten you to this point?
Be real. Do not be phony or fake. It's never as good as you think, and it's never as bad as you think. It's always somewhere in the middle. So always remember that in life. But if you want to coach, get connected with people, not through texting, but in person. Go work camps. I had a coach hit me the other day. He wants to get into college. And I said, you know what? Come work my camp this summer. Be around the staffs. Be around coaches. Be visible. Be present. And build relationships that way. Not necessarily through a resume or an email or tech words. Be there through physical presence and go talk ball and learn ball and be a sponge and soak it all in. And I think that's the people that I've seen in my career. That's what separates them. They love it. They're around. Like, John, you're persistent on this pod. Coach, We met that one day. Hey, I talked to Maya. I said, yeah, I watched it. It was great. I want to do this. Great. You followed up. Done. We followed up with you. All right, that day didn't work. Boom. Let's get another day. Done. Be there. Keep being around. Be persistent. And then get in person and talk to people. And I think that you bumped into me one day. Hey, I'm John. I would love to do that. Done. That's the impression you made. First impressions go a long way. That'd be my other advice. Huge first impression. So can't ever get that back. So make sure you make a good first impression in whatever area you want to go to when you meet people.
Totally. Well, Coach, thank you again for taking time, right? Especially in season. Really busy time. Thank you guys for watching today's episode with John.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram for sports updates and hot takes in real time. Join me next time on The John, your daily sports dump, where we'll be blowing a butt trumpet of sports headlines. Until then, keep your game face on and stay regular. This is The John.
Don't nobody go in the bathroom for about 35, 45 minutes. Somebody open the window.